Welcome to Camp Lau Ren. We appreciate your commitment to Camp Lau Ren this summer and hope your experience is rewarding. Whether you are a paid staff member or a volunteer, you are all considered staff by the United Church of Canada, the Ontario Camps Association, and the Ministry of Labour, and you will all have to complete the same training. We have to ensure that every staff member at Camp Lau Ren receives the training they need to be confident in their position. This video will give you a brief outline of Camp Lau Ren. Camp Lau Ren's mission: in the beauty of Christian faith and the Laurentian Hills, we grow friendships, community roots, and awesome talent in campers of all ages. Our vision: stoking fun and wonder, we deepen awareness of self, community, and Christian faith in the great outdoors. Our values: respect, collaboration, and community. The Board of Directors has oversight of Camp Lau Ren operations. They make all the rules, make sure the property is maintained, repairs and upgrades made, ensure that staff are hired for the season, and ensure that the program follows the doctrine of the United Church of Canada. Camp Lau Ren must follow the standards of two accrediting bodies, the United Church of Canada and the Ontario Camps Association, which means that we have two sets of standards that must be followed. Failing to abide by any of these standards could result in us losing our accreditation status, forcing us to close. The camp is administered by an executive director who is the only paid year-round employee. This is a part-time position, and this person or persons are responsible for hiring all the staff, ensuring that all the rules and regulations are followed, ensuring that all staff, both paid and volunteer, are properly trained, and ensuring that the program follows the standards set out by the United Church and the Ontario Camps Association. We hire 7 summer staff who are here for the entire summer with no weeks off, a waterfront director and an assistant, 2 floaters who work half-time in the kitchen and half-time on the waterfront, 2 cooks, and a caretaker. Camp Lau Ren has 7 co-ed camps and 1 all-girls camp. Each camp is led by a volunteer director who recruits up to 5 leaders who are responsible for developing the program and activities for that 1 week. These programs include sports, Bible studies, and crafts. One of these leaders is also the healthcare provider for that camp. Each camp has a maximum of 70 campers, and 12 counselors are assigned to each camp. Camp Lau Ren endeavors to hire counselors who are 16 years old. This year, because we have been closed for 2 years and do not have counselors moving up through the ranks, we have hired several 15-year-old counselors. Volunteer counselors, who are the extra counselors in the large cabins, can be 15 years of age. The process for applying for a staff position at Camp Lau Ren is the same for all positions. An application must be completed on the Camp Brain portal. If selected, an interview is scheduled and references are checked. If the applicant is successful, a job offer is made and a contract provided. Volunteer counselors must be recruited by the executive directors or the director of a camp. An example of this is the girls' camp, which recruits 6 additional counselors who only work that 1 week of the summer. The same process applies for a volunteer position. Applications are completed through the Camp Brain portal, references are checked, a contract is signed, and the counselor must attend the training weekend. Volunteer counselors earn 125 volunteer hours for working at a 6-day camp. A counselor in training is a volunteer counselor who is 15 years of age. They can only attend junior and intermediate camps and are always the 3rd counselor in one of the large cabins. They have the same role as the counselor, except that they cannot be left alone in the cabin with campers. All employees, both volunteer and paid, have a personnel file which contains their signed contract, standards of conduct, photo release form, a form indicating that they have read all Camp Lau Ren policies and procedures, their women's training certificate, Ontario Ministry of Labour Health and Safety training certificate, and any evaluations conducted at camp. All staff and campers must sign a standards of conduct. Please be familiar with the contents of these standards. Breaking any of the rules in the standards of conduct that you signed before you came to camp can result in disciplinary action, up to and including dismissal. Camp Lau Ren has a strict cell phone policy for both campers and staff. No campers are allowed any electronic devices, including cell phones. Staff are allowed to have cell phones, but they must be kept in their locker in Smythe Lounge, or in the case of summer staff, in their room, and can only be used in staff lounges during scheduled break times. In order to build community, no cell phones or computers are allowed in Smythe Lounge after 8 p.m. on weekdays. This rule applies to both counselors, leaders, directors, and summer staff. Counselors can check their cell phones for messages 15 minutes before curfew, as long as checking messages does not mean that a curfew is broken. There are absolutely no exceptions to this rule. All music played at camp must be age, language, and subject appropriate. That is, there can be no swearing, no references to drugs or sex. A playlist of appropriate music is available, and CDs are available for use in the cabins. All cabins are equipped with a CD player. Cell phones cannot be used to play music. Curfews are not evil. They are put in place for your benefit. You will have a very active day at camp, and you will need your rest. Curfews for junior and intermediate camps are 11 p.m., and for the senior camp, it is 11:15 p.m. And the only reason it's different at the senior camp is because campers go to bed later, and we want you to have time after they go to bed to have some social time. Curfew means that you are in your cabin by 11 p.m. It doesn't mean that you are headed up to your cabin and getting ready for bed at 11 p.m. If it takes you 15 minutes to get ready for bed, then you will be heading up to your cabin at 10:45 p.m. There is absolutely no pranking of any form allowed at Camp Lau Ren, not against a fellow counselor, a leader, director, or summer staff. In other words, against or involving anyone. What may seem like a joke to you may not be received as a joke by the recipient. Even though they may laugh, inside they may feel entirely different. This includes any dissing or jokes at another person's expense. So what happens if you break curfew or are caught pulling a prank? Well, the first time it happens, you'll be going to bed at the same time as the campers for 3 consecutive camp nights. So that means that if it happens on a Friday night, the next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you'll be going to bed with the campers. The second time it happens, the staff have to go to bed at the same time as the campers for 5 consecutive camp nights. Again, it became carried over to the next camp. And if the third time it happens, guess what happens? You're right, you're dismissed. All staff at Camp Lau Ren are provided feedback on their work, from the executive directors to the directors, leaders, summer staff, and counselors. Camp directors receive feedback at their meeting with the executive director on the Friday evening of their camp. Leaders receive ongoing verbal evaluation from the camp director during the week and from the executive directors at the Friday meeting of their camp. Counselors will receive verbal feedback daily. They will receive a formal verbal evaluation of the week on Friday. This feedback is to be a positive experience and will include what you did well and if there is any area where you need to improve. Written evaluations are given to the executive director, who may share this evaluation with the counselors at their Saturday meeting. Summer staff will be provided with verbal feedback daily from the director. A formal verbal evaluation is provided by the executive director halfway through the summer, and a written evaluation provided at the end of the summer. Room and board is provided to all staff. If a counselor or leader has special dietary needs, they are required to look after this themselves. We do not provide a vegetarian diet. Campers come first when serving meals. There is always enough food to go around. Campers are the paying customer, and make sure all the campers are served. Then serve yourself. Watch portion sizes. The cook will tell you when the food goes out to your table how much is allowed per person to start. For example, they're going to give you 3 meatballs per person. This makes sure that everyone at the table gets a serving to start. Then you can go back to the counter to get more food if campers want more. There's always plenty of food. We strive to be a peanut-safe environment. We cannot guarantee to be nut-free, but we will not bring anything into the camp that has nuts or has been processed in a facility that processes other nut products. This means that no outside food that contains nuts can be brought into the camp. So what does this mean for you? You cannot bring any products to Smythe Lounge that may contain nuts or have been processed in a facility that processes other nut products. Check the ingredients on your snacks carefully. If they do not say they are nut-free, do not bring them anywhere near the camp. This also means that no homemade snacks can be brought to Smythe. We can't guarantee that the kitchen they came from does not have nut products. And nothing can be brought in from Tim Hortons. Their products and their facilities are definitely not nut-free. Counselors are responsible for minor first aid needs of the campers. All counselors will be supplied with a fanny pack, which will contain Band-Aids, latex gloves, hand sanitizer, and masks. You are expected to wear the fanny pack during the day. If you use any of these products in the pack, go to the infirmary to be restocked. If the counselor loses their fanny pack, they will be required to purchase a new one for $10. Counselors are required to complete a daily log about the campers in their cabin. These logs are kept in Smythe Lounge and should be completed in the evening. You should include any unusual experiences for a camper that day. Anything that a parent might question after the camper went home. This log is to be completed before the evening meeting. Emails are for campers only. Because of the large number of emails received daily, counselors should only be receiving emails from their parents or from directors of the next camp they are working. The camp phone is not to be used for any personal long-distance calls. Staff are allowed 2 showers per week, and this applies to directors, leaders, and counselors. So spend lots of time swimming. You can wash your hair anytime in the outside sink beside the kitchen. Snacks must be kept in your locker in Smythe. And please do not eat other people's food. If you didn't bring it, don't eat it unless it's been offered to you. Counselors can buy tuck during tuck time. Tuck refers to chocolate bars, chips, and pop that is offered to the campers once per day. But you need to give your tuck money to the tuck supervisor on Sunday when the tuck money is being collected at check-in. Information about any of the camps that you will be working will be sent to you by the director at least 2 weeks before the camp. Information will include the theme, the schedule, and any special instructions for special activities. Your email address must be able to support receiving large attachments. The director will also provide information on the campers in your cabin who have any allergies or special requests. This information will be provided on Sunday. Campers are accepted right up to the day of registration, so unknowns about campers may not be known until after registration is over on Sunday. All camps follow the same basic programs. Schedules may vary depending on the camp, but some days may start with a polar bear swim, followed by a morning watch, then breakfast. After breakfast and cabin cleanup, the activities will start. Swimming, canoeing, crafts, Bible study, sports. Lunch is served at noon, followed by a rest period, after which activities will start again. Supper is served at 5:30 p.m., followed by an activity, vespers, and a campfire. A sample camp program will be reviewed at the training weekend. The training weekend scheduled for May 28th and 29th will include information and training on the day-to-day operations of the camp, how to plan a morning watch, a vespers, and a campfire. Sessions will be held on how to build community in your cabin, working with different age groups, gender equality, what it means to be a United Church camp, how to handle difficult camper issues, rainy day activities, and minor first aid, to name just a few. You will also be doing some canoeing, weather permitting. The second counselor training for those counselors hired for the entire summer takes place June 25th and 26th. This training will concentrate on developing leadership skills. Both trainings are important and will be invaluable to ensuring you have a rewarding work experience. There are several trainings that will need to be completed after the training weekend, but before you come to camp in June. They include the training by the Ontario Ministry of Labour, that is the Worker Health and Safety Awareness in 4 steps. This only has to be completed once, but it has to be completed by every staff member, both paid and volunteer. A web link was provided to you in your contract. Access the link, complete the training, and send your certificate of completion to the executive director. If you have already completed this training for another organization, please send your certificate to the executive directors. WHMIS training must be completed by all new staff. This training is available on the staff portal of the website. All staff must be familiar with Camp Lau Ren's policies and procedures and must sign a statement indicating that they have done so. The policies are all available on the staff portal of the website. They are also on the training USB stick you will receive at the training weekend. You must sign the form and give it to the executive director. Operational manuals are available for all staff positions at camp, and they are available on the staff portal of the website. All staff must be trained on accessibility standards. This training is available on the staff portal of the website and must be completed before coming to camp. All information at camp is confidential, including camper information. You are not to discuss any campers, fellow counselors, volunteer staff, or summer staff in front of campers or with each other. All information on campers and staff is not to be shared outside of camp. Camp Lau Ren will take corrective or disciplinary action in response to inappropriate behavior or actions by staff members. The camp director and executive directors, according to the nature and severity of the inappropriate behavior, will determine the type of corrective or disciplinary action to be taken. Examples of inappropriate behavior include not abiding by the standards of conduct, breaking rules set by the camp director or the executive directors, and poor job performance. Steps in the disciplinary process include meeting with the employee to discuss the behavior of the actions, outline of the specific steps to be taken towards making a change or preventing a recurrence of the behavior or action, a verbal warning, a written warning, and then dismissal. Information on corrective and disciplinary action is outlined in your staff manual. If at any time you feel you're being treated unfairly, speak directly to the person involved and attempt to resolve the situation. Document the conversation and its outcome. If necessary, invite a third unbiased individual to be present. If this does not result in satisfactory changes, then report your concerns to the camp director and provide the documentation from the initial conversation. The camp director will mediate between both individuals and attempt to arrive at a mutually satisfactory agreement. In the event that the conflict resides with the camp director or an agreement cannot be reached, these concerns should be brought to the executive director. The executive directors will act as mediator to reach a mutually satisfactory agreement. If the conflict is with the executive directors, speak directly with the executive directors and attempt to resolve the situation. If an agreement cannot be reached, contact the chair of the board of directors. The phone number of the chair is located on the telephone list beside each phone at camp. Counselors and summer staff staying overnight at camp on the weekend must abide by the rules set out in their contract and signed by them and their parents. There are no exceptions to these rules. Staff under the age of 19 who want to leave the site with another person must have a letter signed by their parents allowing them to do so, and this letter must be given to the executive directors prior to the weekend. A text or an email is not sufficient. Be prepared. Don't be asking to leave if you don't have your parents' permission. Counselors leaving the site, as outlined in the rules, must be back on the site for 12 noon on Sunday. And most importantly, have a great summer. We want this job to be the best one you'll ever have. Ask questions, get answers, do your part to make this job a success. Make sure you take advantage of all training materials so that you're well prepared.